Hi friends, it's Becky, and I wanted to make some jewelry with you today using beads and components that were found in the Love Potion number 9 February Jesse James Beads Magical Mystery Bead Box. I've got a bunch of beads in here, and I pulled out some beads to make some things with. I have 3 projects to share with you today. We're going to make a necklace using these beads here. Then we're going to make some earrings using these, and then I've got a little bonus project at the end. I just really wanted to use this component to make some fun swingy earrings. So we'll make this at the end of the video. But we're going to start with a necklace. Let me go over the little bits that we're using for each of these. For my necklace, I really wanted to use this beautiful crystal drop pendant that came in the box. It's got some tones of like teal and then dark blue and kind of green. So I pulled out some blue and green beads that will really make this fun and sparkly. I've got these dark blue crackle glass beads that came in the box, and I'm going to be pairing those with these rondelles that have the sparkly rhinestones along the edges on those sides. So we'll be pairing those together sort of like this when we make our links for that. And then I've got these great big honking green bicones, and so I'm going to be using those and some of these very, very light blue frosted glass rounds, and I'm also going to be using some of these teeny tiny rhinestone spacers as well. So we're going to be using those, and I grabbed one of these sparkly crystal pave beads, and that's going to be part of the wire wrapped design that we're going to do on this. I'm going to be doing wire wrapping with this, so I've got some wire. Where's my bright silver wire? All right, so I've got some 20 gauge wire that we're going to be using for that. And we're going to be doing some wire wrapping for the pendant and also to make some of our links. And then I'm going to be finishing it along the back with this really fun chain that came with the box. And then I've got just a lobster clasp from my stash that I'm going to be using for my closure. So that's what we're going to use for the necklace. For the earrings, I'm going to be using these really sweet little drops here, and then I've also got some more pave beads, some of the green frosted glass rounds, and then these larger metal spacers. These also came in the box. And then for the earrings, our little bonus earrings, I've got one of these posts that has the round bit in it. One of these lightweight acrylic sparkly beads. We're going to be using that right in the middle, as well as some, there were a couple of other components that, like some bead caps and these hearts. Let me pull those out real quick because I didn't pull them out initially to begin with. These gold hearts and the bead caps, that's also going to be part of that design. So let me get those bead caps are sure clingy. So a couple of these little gold heart spacers. There we go. That we have there. That's also going to be part of that design. The enamel heart chain and these sparkly acrylic little connector discs. It's just so pretty and so big and fantastic. It has to turn into an earring somehow. So I'm going to be making those at the end of this video. Let me move these out of the way so that we're not confusing my camera and making it think that it needs to focus on those instead of what's here in front of us. All right, I'm going to move the chain out of the way as well. And let's get these beads also organized. I've got my little organizer bits up here. I like using those to keep my stuff ready to go. And I'm doing this. All right, so Jesse James Beads usually does such a fantastic job of making these boxes, and I just haven't had time to sit down and play with this yet, so I'm really happy to be able to make some of these things with y'all today. All right, so let's start with our main focal. I'm going to be making a loop on one end, and then I will put my sparkly pave on that. And I'm just stretching, I'm just sort of warming up my wire and also kind of rubbing out the kinks with my fingers on that so that we can get this going. And I'm going to pull off about 20 inches or so of wire. I'm using a little bit more because I'd like to do a wrap down the top of this when I do it. So I'll start on one end right here. Let me go over my tools real quick because I'm going to be using a few wire working tools. I've got my flush cutters here. I have some flat nose pliers. I like to use these to work harden a loop when I'm making things. I've got some chain nose pliers, and I've got some 6-step bail making pliers because I'm going to be using this to make a couple of different sizes of loops when I do my my links. I think I want to kind of emphasize that different size loops that we're getting with the chain with my links that we do for the beaded chain. So I'm going to be using that for that purpose. But I've got my wire here about 2 inches down. I'm going to do a little bend on it, and you can use your chain nose pliers to do a bend, or you can just do a little bend on your whichever loop that you're going to be doing. I'm going to do this third step up. So you've got 1, 2, 3, third step up. So I want that third step facing towards me. And then I'm going to just bend this back away from me first, rotate this on top, and then pull this around, rotate it around, keep it going. And now I've got myself a little loop right here. And what I'm going to do is wrap this. So I'm going to hold on to the loop with my pliers, and I can either use a second set of pliers or my fingers to wrap this wire around the neck. I'm going to wrap about 3 times. There we go. And then once I've got a nice little wrap done, I can snip off my excess. Tidy up that wrap, tuck in any loose ends. And this is the part where I use my flat nose pliers from because I want this circle to remain a circle. I'm just going to give it a little smush. Put it in there and just smush it. And that just helps work harden some of my wire a little bit. You could also use a hammer and a bench block to work harden that if you wanted to. But I find just giving a little smush is all I really need to do on that. All right, so now I've got a really long piece of wire over here. I'm going to find the other end and slide this pave bead onto it. So it's right up there next to that. And now I'm going to figure out where I want to make a little bend in this wire so that I can start wrapping it here. So if we've got that there, I'm going to hold this about here. I'm going to bend that up away from me there, and then bend this forward like so. That should help me get about the right length for this bail to go through when I when I put this on. Nope, that wasn't right. That's okay though, because I can straighten it out now. By pressing with my thumb here. There we go. That's what I want. I want this to be kind of centered over it, but not going too far. That way I can take the other end. I'm holding this with my thumb. Take the other end and bring it around here. And then I'm going to just start wrapping this down. Give that a little adjustment down around the top of this. And I'm twisting, I'm holding the wire in my hand and just twisting this so that, I mean, you can do it either way, but this will keep my wire from swinging around and hitting the camera while I'm doing it. If I just twist my my guy here. This is substantial enough, this pendant, that I don't have to worry about a lot of breakage from it for me to do it this way. All right, now I'm going to go back up the other way because I've got enough wire for this. Just to make it a nice fat wrap. Also, so I don't have like a wire end just hanging out down here. I like to have a nice little area up here where I can tuck the end of my wire. And back. Perfect. All right, so I've got a little pokey end there. Use my pliers and just tuck that right in. All right, and now I've got the beginnings of my necklace. I've got my focal at least. And now let's make some loops here. I think I'd like to go with this same size for one of my loops, this third step up, and then I'll just do the smaller loop for the other one as I go through. And I like to work off the spool when I am doing this. It helps me make multiple links all at the same time. So I'm going to put both of these on here. And you know, it's been a while since I did a video where I just did all of my links with you on camera. And since I don't have that many, we're just going to go ahead and do that. Again, about 2 inches down from the end. I'm going to bend it away from me and then around. I want the barrel that I'm doing around the top of that. Rotate it. And then let's make ourselves a wrapped loop. It's going to be almost exactly the same type of loop as we had with the other for this one. And then for the second one, this is going to be a simple loop because it'll be easier for putting this together. I'm going to snip this. I'm measuring about 1 finger width down. I'm going to snip this hair. And I want that loop to go in the opposite direction or perpendicular to this loop. So I want to make sure that I can see the little circle, and I'm going to bend this away from me over the top. You can use another set of pliers to do that if you want. And then I know from experience that if I hold the bead in this hand and I measure the part of my finger that is right here. Your finger may be completely different, but this gives me 1 centimeter of wire right there. Go ahead and find something else to measure against if your fingers are different from mine. But you want 1 centimeter of wire left. And then you can take your round nose pliers or your bell making pliers, and I'm just going to use the smallest loop on that and curve that around. So that we are in opposite directions on this loop. And definitely for this one, I want to work harden it. So I'm going to give it a smush with my flat nose pliers. And I can either make all my links ahead of time and then put them together, or I can just put them together while I'm making them. I'm going to swing that open, hook it onto my guy right there, and that is going to be one side of my necklace. Let's do a second link here with this one. And this can be very similar. We're going to have a large loop and then we'll have a small loop. The small loop will be a simple loop, and the large loop will be a wrapped loop. And that way we can get large and small loops on there. Again, we're going to kind of echo a little bit the large and small loops for the chain so they all are a little more cohesive. But I'm going to start with one of these light blue frosted glass beads, one of these sparkly rondelles, the green bicone, another sparkly rondelle, and a frosted glass bead, like that. Scooch them down. And this is where I was saying you could use chain nose pliers to make your first bend, or you can use your, just bend it around your pliers. But you just want to make that bend before you do your loop, and you want the loop that you're going to be wrapping around to be on top. Bring it around there, open, swing it around so that it's out of the way, and then bring that around to the other side. It's one of those like movements when you start swinging the wire around and opening up the pliers in order to get it. You can get pretty fast with it because it becomes sort of like muscle memory. The more you practice it, the more you do it. And you don't need the flat nose pliers to work harden your loops. You can do it with just some chain nose pliers. Set it in like the wider part of the chain nose pliers and that'll work just fine. I think there are ways of making these same things without needing to have specialized tools. And even if you just have some round nose pliers like this, that larger loop, you can make that on the fatter part of your pliers and then make the smaller loop on one of the skinnier parts of your pliers. So you don't need the bail making pliers for this. I just like it because it helps me with keeping my loop size consistent. But if you have just some chain nose pliers, you can absolutely make this. All right, so I'm measuring from the bottom of that bead to the bottom of my finger. Cut the wire, not your finger. I almost told you the wrong thing. And then here I want to make sure I can see a circle and not a line on my thing. And I'm just going to bend this back and cut off all but 1 centimeter of this wire with my snippers. I just want to make sure that the loop that I'm going around is on top and then bend towards me. It's just how I can be consistent and not forget which loop I'm using. All right, so now I've got my little second loop, and I am going to squish this to work harden it. then I can swing that open, just like you do a jump ring, and attach it to the loop on this one. There we go, so far. All right, so now I need one more of these and one more of these for this side. So let's do this a little more like assembly line style. Since my links are just about the same, they just have different beads on them. Make sure I've got the right loop going around. All right. This is where, like, repetitive stuff you can do, you know, kind of as a moment of zen or something, where you're letting your thoughts drift while you're working on something. It can be really relaxing to do this once you've had some practice. You notice I didn't snip off that one yet. That's because I can do it in a little bit with this. Nope, you are bent the wrong way. There we go. It's much better. So this one. I'm holding the whole thing steady while I bend that back. There we go. See, now that they're both bent, I can cut these off. And while I've got these snippers on here, I can do that. These are wobbly. I'm just straightening out my thing there. Tighten that up in just a minute. Because then I can roll both of these up. So that was a little more assembly line style. Just making sure that they are both work hardened and that we have got our loops perpendicular to each other before I swing this open and attach it to the next link in that chain. One more. Now this would work just as well with, like, 18 gauge wire, I think, for sure. If you were to use 22 gauge wire for this type of design, I would use a closed loop for both ends. So I can get away with 20 gauge for an open loop, but not 22. 22 would probably slide open while it was being worn. All right, so that's one side of the necklace. And then I'm going to do the second side. Real quick, let's just make all of our links and then put them together. That's where I work out the kinks before I put my beads on there. This would probably look really nice strung on a beading wire as well. You don't have to do links with these beads. I am, because I just want to get those loops, the different size loops. I love that. All right. Yeah, first part. This loop. See how my loops are just a little bit messy there? That's totally fine, because you can give them a little smush and it tidies them right up. Just at the top of the coil and the bottom. Just a little bit of a smush, and this is also not bent right. There we go. So yeah, if you're giving yourself some guff because your coils don't look perfect, you can fix them afterwards. They don't have to look initially perfect. In fact, I think there's a lot to be said for handmade jewelry not looking perfect. Because, you know, machine-made jewelry can look perfect, but if you want something to look like someone put effort and time into it, something made by hand is going to have character. That's what I tell myself. Okay, so pro tip. These aren't great for holding your loop while you're doing your wrapping. They don't work very well for that. This one works a lot better. Use the right tools for the job, friends. Use the right tools for the job. I will very often absent-mindedly reach for the wrong tool, and I have to remind myself of things like that. Especially when I'm getting into a groove like this. Alright, friends. Here we go. Yeah, you can bend it towards yourself instead of away from yourself if you want to. And this wire is a little on the soft side, so you know, that's okay. You just need some support while you're bending the wire at one end. And this is one of those parts of it where it might actually be better to go ahead and use some pliers for that bend. Okay. That one's a little bit too long. I did not measure that right. So you can always adjust the length of your loop so that you've got a shorter wire. It's a little harder to adjust if you start out too short. So if you need to err on the side of anything, err on the side of a longer piece of wire. That one's about right. It's just fine. Oh yeah, that's about the right size. Right, and one more. This one's a bit tippy. Let's readjust that so it's straighter. There we go. So let's actually work from the top down. Swing this open, attach that, swing it closed, and then swing this one open. Attach this. Swing that one closed. Swing this one open. Oop, wrong side. There we go. Attach that. I did that to the wrong one. I attached it to the small loop instead of the large loop. Luckily, it's very easy to fix. Just like that. There we go. Whoop. Okay, and now I'm going to attach this to my pendant right here. Let's turn it over to the right side so you can see the whole thing. and absolutely in love. And I think I want to see if I can do maybe just two layers with the chain. So if I've got those 1, 2, like that. Just a little bit shorter. Okay. So let's open up this. These are split rings, so I can just swing that open. Okay. Take care of that. And then, here, actually, probably could have just done it that way. I'm going to put both of those on there. Just seeing if this will drape the way I want it to. Yes, 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 that's perfect. The perfect length. All right. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this around the back of my neck and hold this end up on the other side so I can figure out how much chain I want for the right length for me. And then we'll split that chain in half to add a clasp. So come on, friend. Actually, let's hold both of these. All right, so that is about how long I want it. I am going to attach, remove this one. Right there. That will match the other side. Like that. I should have undone that one, because now I'm going to have to swing the other one open. This is just my leftover chain. So now the midpoint between these is going to be right there. Perfect. All right. That means I can swing this one open and attach a lobster clasp to it. Wait. Which way? Which end is my... Yes, that's the right side. I like to put my lobster clasp, the part that has a more fiddly bit, I like to attach that to the side that I would be having with my right hand, since I am right-handed and not left-handed. So that's why I was making sure that that was in the right place. Let's go ahead and close that up. Okay, so that's one half. There's the other half there. Can move these out of the way. Got both of these to attach to this one. So let's open and close this. And then let's knock everything off of our desk, as we do. And now I've got a loop already on that side. Let's grab a lobster clasp. Since it's a pretty chunky chain and a pretty chunky loop, I'm going to just grab one of these chunky lobster clasps that I have in my stash. And I'm going to attach this directly to this chain and right here. Again, since they're split rings, I don't have to use a jump ring for this. All right. Perfect. Yes, perfect. That is exactly the effect I wanted, with like the big and little rings, sort of echoing the chain, and having a big chunky wire wrap down here to go with the big chunky textures on there. And then we've got our silver sparkles and the blue and the green echoed in here. Love, 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 love it. All right, let's make some earrings with these guys. I'm gonna need some head pins. So let me grab my head pin box. Head pins. Let me see. How about a little ball head pin for my guy down there? Yeah, that'll work. And then I'll use my 20 gauge wire and make a little link with these other guys to attach to my little ball head pin. Ooh, or here, is this ball going to be too small for this? Because sometimes the holes on these crystal beads can be a little bit on the big side. And no, that ball will fit just fine down there. But I am going to put this guy on here just to top that off. And this ball head pin is a little short for this. Let me see. I've got another one that is going to work better. Nope, that is what we've got. All right, I'm going to do a teeny tiny loop on this. So I'm going to use my round nose pliers because I can get right in there with that. And then I'm just going to do super simple wrap. It doesn't have to be centered. This wire needs to be wrapped. It's not the kind of wire that will hold a simple loop very easily. So I'm just got this wrapped around the very, very end of my pliers, and then I'm using my chain nose pliers to wrap the end of wire around that loop. so that that loop will stay. Got a little pokey outy bit. I'm going to move the pliers out of the way and okay, that's not going anywhere. So let's do a second one just like that. I'll slow this one down a little bit so you can see what I'm doing a little bit more. Just wanted to make sure that that was going to work right. See, they are a little bit short, but that's okay because it's enough at least that I can get a loop on the other end. So drop with a ball on top, like that. Once more. I'm just bending it back around here and then moving that out of the way. Not completely, but enough that I can bring it all the way around. Notice I didn't do like a bend beforehand or leave room for wrapping or anything like that. There's just not enough room on this head pin to do all of that. So now, grab my second set of pliers, bring this around. This is one of those situations where bent nose pliers actually would work a little bit better. But those are in another room from when I was using them for a different project altogether. I did not bring them in here, but that's okay because I can make this work. I can make this work. I'm pushing it instead of pulling on it with these pliers because that helps get that around. Okay, and now I've got my second loop. So I've got two little drops that I made with those ball head pins and those little bits. And then I'm just going to make a couple of I can just use simple loops for these bits. It'll be a lot easier for attaching them. I'm going to put this one on and then this one because I'm just going to make a couple of links that I can attach an ear wire to and then attach to this. So simple loops, we start with a flush end and then we put it right in our round nose pliers, curve it all the way around until it touches the wire on the other side, like that. That's almost completely, there we go. And then once it's touching that other side, I might have my pliers up here, I might have them somewhere else. I want to rotate them so they're hitting just below. And I'm just going to do a little teeny wrist movement like that. And give it just a little bend right there. And that centers my loop. And this is the part where you can work hard in your loop before you do anything else. That way the loop will stay. Put your beads on top, measure 1 finger down. And I cut with my flush end here so I can go right into making my second one. And then we can get to our second loops in just a minute. There we go. It's touching it, and then I rotate it down, give it a little bend. Smush that flat, 1 finger width down. There we go. And now for this, it doesn't matter if these are perpendicular or parallel. I'm going to hold my beads, bend that over, and then cut off until I have 1 centimeter left, or 1/4 of an inch. It's about, hold the beads with my finger, push that over, leave 1 centimeter, 1/4 of an inch. Then I can just roll this up with my round nose pliers. gonna have myself a second loop. Let's do that with this one. I love earrings. Earrings are so much fun to make. They're just like little microcosms of little jewelry things. So now that I've got a loop here and I've got my little links, I'm going to open up one of these loops like this, attach it to my drop, and then pop an ear wire on that end. And now I have an earring. I need to find myself a second one of these. For that, I did not pull ear wires out of my stash beforehand. So we'll do that for the second one, but there we go. Earrings number 1. Now let's do earrings number 2. And for this one, I'm going to want 3 of these little enamel hearts for each side. So I'm going to 1, 2, 3. And I'm just going to cut this little link right there between my enamel pieces. And I'm going to do the same thing, 1, 2, 3. So I want 2 of those 3 heart segments. Like that. Now I've got my little hoop earring for a stud earring hoop, which are actually pretty cool. I think they look pretty cool. And then I've got my heart. Actually, there's just a little bit of extra wire on that one, or extra metal. I'm just going to smooth that out. We don't need that. This is a metal file, by the way. I have a set of them. I usually use them for filing my my ear wire ends so that I don't tear up my ears, but I'm just going to use that on that. Just cleaning up this little spacer. It had some little metal bits that were getting in the way. And so I've got some 20 gauge wire that I'm going to be using for this. It is gold colored. And for this top part here, that's this part, I'm going to be making a little bridge across here with these beads. So let's pull off about this much wire. That's about how much I'm going to need. And on one end, I'm going to make a simple loop. I'm just going to simple loop this guy. I'm going to bring that all the way around here, but I'm not going to make a little bend under here. I don't want it to be centered. I'd like it to be sitting across the front of this when I do that. So I'm going to open this up and actually attach it to the component before I add my beads. So I want this to be on the front side on there. And I'm just going to close this up a little bit. There we go. Now I've got my little piece of wire here. Got that dangling. How did I go? I want my hearts with the pointy end towards my middle. So I'm going to put it on so that the rounded end is towards my loop. And then I want the open part of my bead cap to be towards my middle bead. So I'm going to put it on there. Then add my middle bead. And then my bead cap again so that the open part is towards my middle bead. And then pointy end of this heart towards my middle bead. will sit across there like that. So I need to make a little loop. I'm going to just start the loop, but I'm not going to continue it all the way until I have these beads in place, and then I will continue it. There we go. Now, I'm going to snip off the end and use my pliers to bend this around. Actually, got a little too much wire still. Tucking that end against there. All right. So I feel like my first loop I have too much loop. So I'm going to actually snip off a little bit of this wire here and bend this around so that it matches the other side. I did have to do this on the first one too. I'm holding my heart bead on this side of the frame to keep it from popping out of the other side. There we go. Where'd you go, buddy? This needs a little more curvature around the frame. There we go. So now that I've got that spread across the front there, I can go ahead and grab some jump rings. That's something I forgot to mention earlier. I'm going to get 4 jump rings to attach these enamel hearts to this guy and suspend them from that ring. So 1, 2, 3, well, it's going to be at least 4. So jump ring 1, let's attach that there and get these hearts on here. Close it up. And then get jump ring 2. And attach. These are just 5mm jump rings, by the way. Attach it to the bottom hemisphere, not the top hemisphere of these. Well, it's not a sphere, it's a circle. So what would it be? Hemicircle? I don't know. I'm going to do the same thing on this side with my hearts. These will be really fun. I did that the wrong way around, didn't I? Or did I? There we go. That's the right way around. So I got these. And these. And everything is just so sparkly, my friends. Everything is so sparkly and shiny. And I love that. And this was all from the Love Potion number 9, Jessie James Beads Magical Mystery Bead Box. I will have links in the description below to their Magical Mystery Bead Box. It is a monthly bead subscription. And you usually find a lot of very whimsical, very heavily curated for an experience types of beads and findings in the Magical Mystery Bead Box. I hope you all enjoyed this, and if you like what you see, hit the like button. If you want to see more, hit subscribe, and until next time, happy beading.